There was some skepticism at the beginning of the program to be like, what did you do? You hired somebody to help you with this? And that's easy stuff. It's like, well, if it was that easy, I'd already be doing it, right? But I've noticed since starting the program, there's more of that. There's more focus, there's more persistence, there's more stamina in the job and doing that. And I think some of these changes I'm making in my health and my fitness are starting to carry over into the professional side. My boss and some of my peers have made some comments about that too. They've been asking me what I'm doing.
In this video, I interview my client Lucas, who in just 3 months has had quite an insane transformation while traveling multiple times a month for work and having 2 young children. I want you to pay close attention to his mindset and the systems that he's implemented that have allowed him to have the transformation that he made in such a short time period.
Welcome in, Lucas. Excited to have you here for this interview. To kick us off, can you give us a quick introduction on yourself, where you live, what you do for work, what your schedule's like?
Yeah, my name's Lucas. I live in South Carolina and I sell software to landscape companies for a living. And the majority of that is remotely, but I do travel quite a bit, especially for some of our largest prospects and customers. So some months are busier than others, some weeks are busier with the travel than others. But as an example, in March, I spent about 4 or 5 business days at home, if that tells you anything. So it can
Yep.
get pretty crazy sometimes.
Yep. Wow. And how long have you been in the program, and what are some of the results you've gotten health and fitness wise?
Yeah, I've been in the program now. I'm right at the halfway mark at 3 months. And I have seen some pretty big changes comparing where I started to where I am now, and mainly in body composition. And that's something I wasn't expecting. I had an initial goal of just, hey, trying to drop some weight, but I didn't know it would turn into actually, putting on some more muscle and it going in that direction.
Yeah, and we'll put your transformation on the screen, so it's literally insane. But like, take us before you met me. What were you doing before all of this?
Yeah, so before you, I had actually lost 60 pounds 3 years ago, which I needed to. And I got after that to sort of a plateau. I was happy with the way I looked and felt for the most part. It was a lot better than before. But a couple of months ago, before I met you, I noticed I was getting really complacent. I had put on a little bit of fat, nothing too noticeable, but like I had gained some weight that I wanted to lose, and I just wanted to dial in more, really for myself, for my family, get into a better mindset, but actually have a plan. So, and that's what I was able to find with you guys.
Yeah. Wow. That's really awesome. And those are powerful motivators too, because I feel like to be able to sustain and stick to a fitness journey in the way you have takes having those reasons because it gets tough. There are definitely days where it's like, oh, I don't really want to do it. Right? How has life changed as an impact of implementing these things and taking this program?
Yeah, I've noticed it carry over in other areas, like with the discipline, like what you just said, not feeling like you want to go to the gym, not feeling like you want to eat healthy that day. And yesterday was a great example of that. Didn't get a lot of sleep, had a long day at work, and I was like, man, I really don't want to go to the gym right now. I made myself do it, and I felt really good after, you know? And I've noticed that carry over into my professional life as well. I've been a resilient, very, persistent kind of person in my career for a while now. But I've noticed since starting the program, there's more of that. There's more focus, there's more persistence, there's more stamina in the job and doing that. And I think some of these changes I'm making in my health and my fitness are starting to carry over into the professional side. My boss and some of my peers have made some comments about that too. They've been asking me what I'm doing. I've been happy to share with them. But it's been the discipline. It's just doing those things over and over and over, even when you don't see the results. And that's been the big thing for me is, and I think part of it was trusting you guys,
Yeah.
even when you don't see progress, it's like the inputs are good and trusting you guys to say, hey, the inputs are good. And then you see those little micro changes start to add up. And then you look back 3 months ago, say, hey, actually, yeah, I look a little bit different than you know, I used to.
Yeah. How did you, in those moments, how did you like keep going because honestly, I always like tell people this. I feel like the hardest part about a fitness transformation is those initial starting phases where you're just putting in the work every single day and you're like barely seeing any payoff. So how did you continue to work and continue to show up? What were the types of
Yeah.
things you told yourself to keep going until you got to the place where you're like, oh yeah, the results are undeniable.
Yeah, and really for me, it was kind of the opposite of that. I kicked, right out of the gate. It was great, good energy. I was very excited for it. Started to see some changes on the scale immediately, and
Hmm.
then got into that month and a half, two mark,
So
and
yeah.
started to really get discouraged.
Hmm.
And, you and Shalin encouraged me throughout that. But then more than that, it was just honestly checking the box. Like I was like, I know I need to get this in today. This is my day at the gym. I've got to do this. I've got to eat this amount of protein. I can't go over this in fat today. And just doing it, and just seeing that the box was checked off, as silly as that may sound. But some days it was just checking the box and doing it and knowing that that was the right thing to get toward the goal. That's what's going to get toward the goal, not this. This is going to take a couple steps back.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. Just shifting all the energy to, I just got to check this box off. I just got to get this done. That's awesome. What do you think were some limiting beliefs you had about getting leaner and stronger with your crazy work schedule? What were kind of some of the beliefs you came in having before doing this?
Yeah, I was, one of the big things that I've seen is being able to make progress while I'm on the road.
Mm,
And I saw myself before as either I'm slipping in my health and fitness when I'm on the road because it's harder to make good choices or they're not available, I used to tell myself. But I've seen that there's actually a way to make progress while you're on the road by eating the right things and making time and making room in the crazy schedule to exercise and seeing what fits best in this case for me. So,
mm,
um, those were some of the limiting beliefs I had. And then some of it was self-talk about I'm just going to be just the way I look, the way I am forever. There's no way to change this. I've done everything I could do. Like when I had this huge weight loss journey a couple years ago, hey, I'm at my max. This is it for me. And this has really helped me see that it's not, I can push myself and there's more there. There's more juice to squeeze out, if you will.
yeah. Yeah, I love that mentality. What's your goal from here? What's the next thing you're working towards health and fitness wise?
Yeah, so really to complete the rest of the program with you guys, we've got some great goals ahead to lean up even more. Now that we've put on even some more muscle, we have leaned up a little bit, but to
Yeah.
push that further, I mean, more than I ever have. So I'm really excited to get into that phase with you. Um, but the rest of it's just around more personal records for myself, like in the gym. I've hit up quite a few
Yeah,
that have
tell them about the personal records you've hit, and well, actually, tell them where your strength was at when you started, and then tell them what personal records you've hit recently.
Yeah, as an example, the big one has been the bench press for me.
Hmm.
I started this program at 165, as embarrassed as I am to say it right now. And yesterday I hit 230 in the gym for
Hit
reps. So all
230
of
now
this, yeah, at
in
reps.
3 months. That's
Yeah.
insane.
Um, so
Wow.
that's been a huge one for me. And working at that, just putting on a little bit more weight on it every single week. My leg press was in the 200s. It's now at 350
Wow.
as an early example.
Yeah.
My lateral raise was at 10. It's now at 25, all for reps as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And then I remember my shrugs, the cable shrugs, those were about 50 or 60 when I started, now at 100. So which is the max on at least on the machine
Yeah.
that I use.
Yeah.
I think tricep dip, I started at like 180, 190. I'm at 265 now on that.
Wow.
So I'm excited to see where that can go too,
Yeah.
just for myself,
Yeah.
being able to challenge myself a little bit more to do those things.
That's amazing. What are some of your biggest learnings that have allowed you to see that kind of exponential strength?
One thing is getting the right food in you and making the right choices. That
Mm.
was one of the hardest things for me when I started was,
Yeah.
some days I wasn't eating enough. I was inconsistently intermittent fasting sometimes,
Yep.
which is a great tool if used properly.
Yeah.
Uh, but then some of these other things, right? I was, blowing out how much fat I ate in one day, or carbs, or not enough carbs, and not enough protein. Some days I'd focus on the protein. It was just very inconsistent, right? When looking at it. So those are some of the things I've dialed into to make those changes, is to be consistent with the nutrition to fuel the workouts, but then in the gym be very focused on, hey, this is what I'm doing right now. I don't have to go for speed. I'm going to try to challenge myself, and it's okay if I don't hit what I'm trying to right now, but I'm going to try to max out as much as I can. I'm going to focus all on this exercise,
Yeah.
but also through the whole workout. Um, I feel like before I didn't really have a plan going to the gym. I would, work out 5 or 6 machines, be out.
Yep.
Now I can feel this. I remember telling Shalin the first couple workouts I got, I said, yeah, these are serious. You guys put together a good plan where I'm
Yep.
like, whoa, this is I would barely sweat before, and I'm like coming out drenched now. I'm like, this is an actual workout.
Yep.
So, and the body getting used to that, and also rest. Believe it or not,
Yep.
rest. So I figured out a really good rhythm for rest that worked for me, where I'm getting results, but I feel good and I'm not sore. And then drinking water and electrolytes to reduce the
Yep.
soreness. Mixing some sauna in there a couple times a week after the workouts has really helped me personally, and to recover at the same time too, and like when to eat certain foods, which you guys have really helped with. I didn't really see it that way before, but you can plan out for your activity levels, which is
Hmm.
kind of cool.
Yeah. Food timing is like so key, right? It's almost something that's like you think like, oh, so simple, but it can have such a profound impact. So
Yeah.
that's really, I'm glad you touched on that. That's huge. In terms of the progress you've seen over the past few months, what does your family, your friends, your colleagues at work, how do they feel about all of this?
There was some skepticism at the beginning of the program, like, what did you do? You hired somebody to help you with this? And that's easy stuff. It's like, well, if it was that easy, I'd already be doing it, right?
Yeah.
Um, which wasn't happening.
Hmm.
So there's a reaction at first of shock, but then a couple months later, I start seeing some of the results. It's like, oh, okay, I guess this is working pretty well. We can actually see some of the differences. Again, at work, like a lot of people have been impressed by, more of my focus and discipline. Obviously, they've noticed some physical changes there as well. But it's been more like, hey, he's more on it than usual. And I'm a guy that's like fairly on it for the most part.
Right.
But like there's a new level of focus, you know,
Mm.
on your job, and with the customers that I deal with, for example, and being persistent, not just giving up, especially in a difficult situation at work, where before maybe I would have, given more leniency or backed off, lean in. And really in my job, kind of like yours, I'm helping people try to make really good decisions for their business,
Right.
and sometimes our product is a good fit and sometimes it's not. And
Yeah.
being honest about that, and that persistence in that kind of role, and being okay with that from a mindset standpoint, so all of that I've really seen improve through joining this with you guys.
Wow, that's really powerful too, like the mindset piece, because I totally get it, right? We're in, I guess, in somewhat similar industries in a way, right? And it's like, yeah, having that drive, that persistence, the focus, the clarity, that's really cool. I'm really impressed to see how it's like carried over so quickly for you too. I mean, what, obviously you don't have to say the exact amount, but you guys set a pretty massive company record in the first quarter, right?
Yeah, I was told our fiscal year is a little bit different, so our quarter ended last week in April, but
Yeah.
I was told I set a company record for most sales, and that was huge. Like, and I've been in this role for, about a year and a half now, so not the most tenure of anybody on our team. So I was very humbled, and I really didn't. I- I'd say I didn't really make these connections till like the end of March, beginning of April on the professional side, where I started to see this.
Mm.
And I was like, okay, things have been different at work as well. And it's kind of carried over subconsciously. But I will tell you, one of the things, Zach, that really helped me was one of our group calls together. We did the mindset exercise. And I've actually taken that, I've shared it with people at my job because we
Wow.
deal with these kind of limiting beliefs as well. It gets really hard sometimes. You get demotivated. Um, you really have to be on your game to perform at your best.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things not only helped me with this program with what I was dealing with, and it hit me at a great point where I was very discouraged, but
Yeah.
also professionally in my personal life. So I want to thank you for that. But um, there's been, I'd say the biggest change in this, obviously, after the physical one, has been in the mind.
Mm. Tell me more about that. What have you noticed as changes in your mind?
More of a positivity of like, no, I can actually do this, and then these choices, okay, do I really need to eat this food or drink this drink right now that'll get me in a negative momentum for the goals I'm trying to achieve?
Mhm.
Right. So starting to make better choices, but not just because I'm trying to check the box like I was talking about earlier, but more about because it's the right choice for what I'm doing in the lifestyle. So that's been one of the big shifts as well, is like why I'm making these choices. Why am I going to go work out? Why am I going to do this? And one of the things you guys said, I was focused on making some changes for a vacation that I had. And I
Yeah.
made some changes. There were some, but you can't make a transformation in 1 month that's, completely different. And I did make some, but you guys said, hey, I'm worried about your vacation in a year or two or five from now.
Yeah.
And I put that in, I was like, that's actually a good point, but how is it going to be then? So these changes are not only for this moment in time now, but changes that we're going to try to keep forever.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Like zooming out at the macro and really thinking like, can I keep living this way a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? Because what I see time and time again is like people will try these things that are super restrictive, just like hate their life basically, but they tell themselves like, oh, I'm only doing it for like 2 months, or 3 months, and then I can just go back to the way things were. And then they just keep going in that vicious cycle where they lose weight, gain it all back. So, yeah, I love that you're sharing that mindset of like zooming out long term. Um, can you imagine living the way that you did 3 months ago, knowing what you know now?
No, I don't think I could live with myself knowing this now. And a lot of like what you're saying is like, it's not just 2 or 3 months and pushing, but it's like you have to start to embrace these changes. And if you don't find the why, I feel like you're going to give up really quickly, or you have to see it as temporary and be done. But it's like learning to enjoy new foods or foods prepared a certain way. This is, the more of the practical side, but learning to love going to the gym and how you feel after and like seeing the progress, you know?
Yeah,
And like those are the little things on a day to day, like for me, that have kept me going.
yeah, I love that. What would you tell somebody who maybe was in your shoes a couple months ago or even a couple of years ago? What would your feedback be to them?
You have to change your life. If you know you need to, and you've got to make changes, you have to do it. And you got to take the first step to do that.
Yeah,
Or it was me a couple years ago, like when I lost all that weight, I needed to get healthy. I need to get healthy for my kids, for myself, be a better person, a better employee. Um, but then now it's finding a new level of focus. It's like, what is my goal? That'd be hey, why are you doing this? It really comes back to that. You just ask why, 4 or 5 times and why that matters to you. And if that's not a really good reason, maybe you shouldn't make it. But if there is, maybe that is a step you should take, right? But really, that has to frame and that's got to be in front of you before you start anything like this, or it's going to be too hard. Because some of these changes are probably very different from where your life is at right now. So you got to keep that in front of you because after the excitement wears off, it's going to get pretty hard.
yeah, yeah, 100%. It's about showing up, doing the boring work day in and day out, right? Yeah. How would you describe our program structure to somebody who isn't in it?
Yeah. First of all, I would say that there is a structure to it, and that's very helpful, you know? And I think that's what a lot of people are missing, just a plan. A plan to eat, a plan to exercise, a plan to walk if you don't really do a lot of that right now.
Yeah.
and how all of those things interact. But it's a more holistic approach, I would say. There's a focus on the mindset piece. I feel like there's also a focus on the body, then all how this comes together. So I think you guys do a really good job focusing on all of those things every week, but being able to track progress in different ways. For example, ways that were new to me. It's not just about the numbers on the scale, it's about how your body looks
Yeah.
and what it's composed of mostly. So, and that may be a little bit of a shift for people, but I think that's the advantage is there are a lot of ways to gauge the success, and you guys have really dialed in on that. And I think that's good for people coming in. Be like, look, the success you're going to see may not start or end on the scale. You're going to start looking different, and here are the things that we look at. So that's been very helpful for me as I've, gone along in this, and I would highly recommend it to anyone that's looking to change their life. And that may not be everybody, but if there are people that are serious, maybe to make some changes in their life that are going to make them better, and they're willing to stick to it. This is a great idea.
Wow, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And yeah, I do agree. You got to be ready to change. Like it's like that quote that's like you have to change. If you're not happy with your current results, you got to start doing something different.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say is the difference between Gladiator Strength and what else is out there?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of really good programs. I think it's about finding what's best for you. And Zach, you've done a really good job of getting into a very niche space with
Mhm.
it, which is business professionals, others who travel often. And that's how I found you was on social media. I saw a message that was very tailored. I'm in sales. I really appreciate that kind of focus. Um, but that is, I would say, the big difference between you and others. Like you're focused and you know what it is personally to live this life on the road and to have a plan on the road and you're able to share it with others. But also, I've found a lot of value in networking with others in the group that have joined the program that also have similar schedules.
Mhm.
And I'll be like, hey, I'm not alone. There are other people that are doing this, or other people that are ahead in their journey with you
Yeah.
on this that are way ahead. They're having a lot of success. It's cool to see that. Oh, and they're traveling 4 or 5 days a week, a couple times a month.
Yeah.
So I would really recommend it for those folks in the business space, and consultants, et cetera, who are on the road a lot and they find themselves kind of lost in the long hours, food choices, sleep. When do I fit a workout in? So um, that would be my recommendation
Yeah.
for that kind of fit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the struggle is real. And it's funny. It's such a niche market. Everybody who gets on a call with me is always like, Zach, why us? And I'm like, because I was you. I know what it's like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, anything else that you want to share that you feel like would be relevant, that's something on your mind, that you want to share?
Yeah, I would say one of the things that's helped me hit my protein goals specifically has been the snacking. I've
Mm,
found some very good snacks that, are packing 30 to 50 grams of protein in just like
wow.
one sitting.
Yeah.
And that's really helped me supplement if I'm not getting it in the meals that day for some reason or there's something going on.
Yeah.
Trying to fit that in. Would really highly recommend, speaking to one of you guys about it, or myself, I could make those recommendations for what I've done. But I've found some snacks that I really enjoy, but they're really, really high in protein, and that's been my one of my biggest struggles, as you know, Zach, is
Yeah.
fat down and protein up.
Yes.
So those have really helped, and they don't have a lot of fat, and they
Yeah.
taste good. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff out there. We live in a great society where that kind of product is being made constantly. So um,
Yeah.
that would be one of my biggest recommendations for folks.
That's huge. And what I love from what you shared there is you're finding things that you actually enjoy too, because that's so key to making it sustainable long term, is like being able to actually enjoy it. So really cool to see that. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, Lucas. If anyone wants to reach out, get in contact with you, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, I am primarily found. You could find me on LinkedIn, Lucas Marshall, and I'd be happy to chat with you there.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, appreciate you coming on. This was great.